Hello and welcome to the Too Much Apparently podcast. If you're new here, this is a podcast for the deeply feeling, overthinking, emotionally overloaded humans who've been told they're too much apparently. And if you're back, thanks for choosing to sit with us again.
We're Alice and Carly, two therapists who are also just sensitive weirdos trying to make sense of life, healing, and our own brains. This isn't a professional advice podcast. It's more like the messy, honest conversations that happen when you finally feel safe enough to say what you're really thinking.
This space is for people like us, the ones who've been called too sensitive, too serious, too emotional, too intense, and have spent way too long believing that it's true.
Okay, on with the episode.
Today we're talking about being too passionate to play it cool.
This one's for the people who don't just like things, they love them. The people who collect hobbies, deep dive, hyperfocus, rewatch, reread, research for fun.
The ones who can't casually enjoy something, it becomes a phase, a personality trait, a 3-week research project.
And instead of seeing that as a flaw, we're reframing it as joy.
Because enthusiasm isn't cringe, it's connection.
Let's get into it.
So I think at my age, I'm not feeling the pressure to be cool so much anymore. I think particularly having adult children, as they went into their teenage years, I became very aware of not being cool anymore. So I don't quite experience that in the same way. But I think there is, maybe I wouldn't use the word cool anymore, but I think there are other words that maybe fill that space that can still leave me feeling a bit uncomfortable with how I am with hobbies and interests and things like that. How is it for you?
Yeah. Well, growing up, I felt a lot of pressure from myself to be cool and to want to be seen as cool. And I think getting really into things was typically not really seen as cool unless, I don't know, you were a young boy and you were really into football, like football obsessed, and you knew all the stats. I think that could still be seen as cool.
Yeah.
So there were some things you could be really into that would be seen as cool, but typically getting really into something was not really seen as cool. And I'd say today I do think that I'm cool, but in my world, if that makes sense, like I get that other people might not think I'm cool. So I guess what I'm trying to say is rather than there being this defined specific area of coolness, I now think that cool is subjective based on who your audience with or who you're trying to relate to. So I think in my circle, I'm really freaking cool, but it's okay if other people don't think so.
Tell me more about your circle.
Well, I don't really know. How do I define what I mean by my circle? I suppose what I mean is the types of people who are either A, interested in what I'm interested in. So obviously we're going to think each other is cool. But also, even people that don't necessarily share my interests, but they're the types of people that still get super interested into things and know what that's like. Because I could listen to someone else talk about something they're super interested in all day. I really like it. I like seeing people's faces light up, their enthusiasm for sharing the things that they know about it. It's really lovely. So I think if you are someone who gets what it's like to have deep or intense interests, I think maybe that's what I mean by my circle.
Yeah. Like it can be cool to be passionate about things if we go back to the title of the episode.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it is cool to be passionate about things because the types of things that might be seen as stereotypically cool, I often think are actually really boring. So it's, well, I don't even think that that's cool anyway.
Yeah, okay.
I guess the point is I'm much more comfortable now in what I find interesting and being open and okay about that. But when I was younger, yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah. Just like thinking back, and you were saying about being interested in football and knowing all the stats, like that can still be cool. And I was trying to think about what's the equivalent for, I guess, a teenage girl. And it took me back to, it was boy bands.
Okay.
Specifically A1. It was my big thing. There is that kind of, just play it cool, which somewhat the opposite, isn't it? When I think about what cool is, it's almost like a disinterest in things. Or maybe disinterest isn't quite the word, but certainly not. it feels like a not bothered kind of attitude. Like I'll
Yeah.
just turn up to things and I'll just be here and just be cool and
It's not like a squealing fangirl.
right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like chill kind of attitude.
Yeah.
But also that the idea that there are some interests that are more acceptable, perhaps, than other
Mm.
interests. And I don't know, growing up, I would say the opposite of cool was like nerdy and geeky. And it was not wanting to be those things because that casts you out at school.
Yeah.
Whereas in truth, I am nerdy and geeky.
Mm.
And I mean that in a positive way.
Yeah. I don't think I ever stood any hope of being cool.
Right.
And so I don't think I ever aspired to be cool. Like it just wasn't going to happen for me.
Okay,
I
yeah.
was always a massive bookworm. I would constantly have my head in a book. Not sure about geeky and nerdy when I was younger. I certainly think of myself that way now. Nerdy, I think about specific things. I think about dinosaurs, space, yeah, things like that. Physics maybe. Yeah.
Sciencey stuff.
Sciencey stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Whereas now I'm definitely somebody who likes to get into the details of things and likes to know things and go really deep on things. I don't think I'm that bothered about being cool. It's reminding me a little bit of what we spoke about on the Too Boring to Be Fun episode.
Mm.
Is I just don't have that. I don't have a strong feeling around needing other people to be okay with what I'm interested in. Yeah.
Well, through this podcast so far, we've really learned what our differences were growing up, where even if difficult for you, there was a kind of acceptance of who and how you are,
Yeah.
which meant that you didn't necessarily strive to contort yourself into all different shapes to try to fit. Whereas that was absolutely my experience of the contortion, yeah, with so many things.
Yeah. And I think while there was an acceptance, that doesn't necessarily mean that I felt okay about it. I think there were
Sure.
points where I was definitely aware that I was different to other people or I wasn't quite doing what other people were doing. I feel like teenage girls definitely go through a makeup phase. And I was really aware of knowing that the other girls knew what they were doing and being really into that, whereas I just wasn't that bothered about it. So there would be that pang of, I guess, being left out or not being part of the in crowd. And
Mhm.
I think that's what can get stimulated, if I think about being too passionate to be cool, is how that's going to be socially.
Mm.
So I am like, for the most part, like really okay with it now. There is a small part of me that still cringes when I talk about Coronation Street and Emmerdale, which are my two big passions. And there is part of me, like even when I knew we were going to be doing this episode, there's part of me like, oh, why can't my thing be Friends like everyone else? But it isn't. I don't think I've watched more than one Friends episode all the way through. And yet there's so much of it around that I know who all the characters are. I know some of the main themes through the show. Oh.
Whereas I'm just sitting here questioning the entire basis of our friendship.
Right.
How can you have not seen it?
Yeah. I feel like that taps into what you were saying before about even though we don't have those shared things, because I know you've got other shows as well that you watch and we don't read the same kind of books either, that even though we don't have shared interests in that way, that we do have a lot that we can relate to when it comes to diving deep into things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where connection can be found, even if you're not fully aligned in what your interests are, because they're aligned through their depth
Yeah.
and through your enthusiasm and through your passion,
Yeah.
which is why, even though our episode is titled based on kind of what is culturally seen as cool and not cool,
Yeah.
we are saying it is absolutely cool to be too passionate.
Yeah. I feel like there's something about like finding your people as well. Like you were saying before, like there's different perspectives on cool, isn't there? So going back to what I have in my head when I think of as cool, do you know what? I think it's Danny from Greece.
Oh, really?
is who I think of. Yeah, some kind of 80s American kid with a leather jacket on. That kind of person is going to have a very different perspective on what is and isn't cool.
Hmm.
And you touched on before about actually, if you find a group of people that are into the same things as you, then actually it becomes cool to enjoy the things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And I love that, finding people that get what you get what you love, love the same things as you. I am yet to find any Coronation Street and Emmerdale mega fans. So if you're out there, send me an email, let me know.
We need to find you some.
We
We
do,
do.
yeah.
We know they exist
Oh, they
because the
definitely
ratings are
exist.
still so high.
Right, yeah. And there
Yeah.
are Facebook groups and Instagram accounts, Reddit, where people are really, I mean, I think of myself as a mega fan, but actually I'm probably not compared to them.
Yeah. Well, I guess with soaps and stuff, it makes me think of how some people are really passionately into reality TV.
Yeah.
But that's another one that people can feel some sort of, it gets called a guilty pleasure.
Yes.
So it's the
Yeah.
idea that you can't just say, oh, I really love this thing. You have
Yeah.
to soften it almost by saying, oh, it's a guilty pleasure, rather than just saying, I'm really into reality TV or I'm really into soaps.
Yes. And actually, I'm fine with that. And I love it when people are like a bit awkward about it, like, I've been watching Love Island recently. And I'm like, I love Love Island. I think it's great. I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's also then being comfortable and confident in the things that we are passionate about.
Mm.
But it is hard when there are things that people hold judgments over. And reality TV is often put in the trashy TV category. And so when we know that there are certain judgments about the things that we're passionate in, it is then going to be hard for us to feel like that is cool, or even just being comfortable and confident in it. And whether that's being a teenager and getting teased by people because you like certain activities or are aligned with a certain group. I don't know, thinking of like all the little cliques that you get in school. Or whether it's in adulthood and there are judgments about adults who enjoy certain types of thing. It's like if you're in your 50s and you love to collect teddy bears, there's so many different types of interests that even as adults, there will be judgments over. So unless you're friends with a bunch of other people who also love collecting teddy bears and are deeply passionate about the history of teddy bears and things like that, you might not feel very comfortable openly, passionately talking about your interests.
Yeah. I feel like what you're really touching on there is about what our interests might say about us. And I think that's heightened when we're really passionate about something.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. That's reminded me of something actually. I can get really into shows and films in the sense that it's not just that I've enjoyed it. It's more like the fact that I like it so much says something about me, and I want to share in that with somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I can really relate to that.
So, if you say to someone, oh, I really love this film or this series and I want you to sit and watch it with me. So, someone actually spoke about this on a different podcast within the context of rejection sensitivity.
Okay.
So, within the context of RSD, where you can feel sensitively much more acutely and strongly than other people, and I'd never heard it put this way before, but it so spoke to my experience, and I realized, oh, that's what that is. If I love a film and I invite a friend or a family member to sit and watch it with me, and then, a really good bit's on and I turn around and they're looking down on their phone, or they go to the toilet and they say, oh, don't worry, don't press pause. I'm just laughing because in my head, I'm just like, I feel like it's like such a deep insult.
What would you say? So, like, in that silence of like, how could you possibly say that? Like, what are the words that you would say if you no filter said?
No filter. Do you know, I don't even know what it is that I would say, because this is why someone else on a podcast literally spoke to this exact example and realized that actually it was about a feeling of rejection. Because if you're so into something and someone is rejecting it by go to the toilet, no, don't worry about pressing pause. It's like you're rejecting me because of how much I'm into that thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't really logically make sense, but the feeling is very strong and it's very visceral and it's difficult to kind of contain and deal with.
Mm.
And because I do get so into things, I also like to really talk about them afterwards. So whether that's a TV show, a stage show, a film, if I've got myself really into it, I really want to talk about it with somebody. But there are many people who would watch a film and would say, "Oh, that was really good."
And
That's
that's it.
it.
Mm,
That's their summary of
yeah.
the film. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, we need to break this down over the next hour and talk about this scene and the way they used the musical score within that scene and the feelings that it gave and how clever this bit was. And yeah, which is difficult.
I can really relate to that. I'm sitting with a few things as you're talking. So partly I'm sat with, so I took my daughter to see Wicked 2 recently, and you wanted to know like my response to that. And I didn't actually, well, I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. I didn't enjoy it as much as I hoped to. And I could really feel that like feeling of wanting to be like, oh, I love this and Carly loves this and let's have this great conversation about it. But I can't muster it when it's not there. But I feel like I've also had it about Hamnet. So I went to see Hamnet recently, and actually I loved it so much I went to see it again like a few days later with somebody else. And
Great.
I honestly could have watched it like every day for a week, I think. Even though some people are coming out and saying like that was so emotionally devastating, I don't think I can ever watch it again. I'm like, more, hit me again. But then there are these like, yeah, these news articles coming out, these reviews of it coming out. And the thing that struck me is when people are indifferent to it.
Yeah, indifference. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good
So I
word.
feel like, and so I don't actually have this when it comes to Coronation Street and Emmerdale. And I think the thing for me that really hooks me into that is it's northern, it's day to day, it feels very safe for me, which links to my dad's side of the family. But I don't expect people to get that. I'm not, and I don't actually have that kind of rejection response if other people are not interested. Like, I wish they would be so that we could talk about storylines together, but I'm okay that they're not. But when it comes to things like Hamnet, and I get it also with Normal People, the TV show Normal
Mhm.
People. I don't know if you've seen that. If people don't like that, I'm like, yeah, I get that same. There's almost no words to it. It's like an intake, but almost stuck breath of like,
Yeah.
what?
What? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, especially when it's like that disbelief almost. Like, I can't believe
yeah,
what I'm hearing.
yeah,
But yeah, it's strange to say it can be experienced as painful.
yeah,
Yeah, but I think it really can with some things. It's not too dissimilar from, yeah. So for example, I love to read and I read a lot of fantasy, and there aren't many people in my life that read fantasy. And so sometimes, again, it's just a thing you'd really like to be able to share in with people. But bless my partner, he will just sit and listen to me in detail explain the full plot of this book that I'm reading. And oh my gosh, and you won't believe this. And then you'll never guess what happened. This happened. And he's trying his best to keep up with all of the names. And
because they don't have easy names, do they? In
they never
fantasy
have
books.
easy names. It's obviously a different world. So I'm then trying to then explain, oh, how this kingdom relates to this kingdom is this and this and that. Hang on, I'll just get the map out. I'll just show you the map.
Oh, I love that. Let me just get the map out. You got to love a book with a map.
Oh, absolutely. My sister said the other day, oh, if I open a book and it's got a map, like I just think, ugh. And that was one of those moments where I'm like,
What?
no, no, the map is the best part. I'm like,
Right.
yes, yes, there's a
Yeah.
map.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like with my part, I know he's not interested really, but he feigns interest for my benefit and will sit and listen, even when I'm not just giving him a quick 5 minute rundown of the book. Like I'm fully, yeah, good amount of time's passed by and I'm still telling him about this book. I'm like,
Yeah.
promise, I won't be much longer. But it can also feel nice when you have people in your life who will try to share in your interests to some extent, even if it's not something that they're interested in.
Yeah.
But for those of us who get quite into our passions and want to talk about them,
Yeah.
we can talk about them for quite a length of time.
Yeah. I think that's really nice. I think both with your partner being willing to sit and listen, And I have this a bit with my husband. Like, he doesn't follow Coronation Street and Emmerdale, but sometimes he'll be around while I'm watching it. So he vaguely knows the storylines. And the other day he went off to football and it was a shock bit of a story. And I sent him a message and I'm like, can you believe it wasn't this guy? It was this person. And he was able to be like, what? And that was really nice to have that shared experience. But also, like you say, about, getting to have those conversations where other people really get something and really get it in depth. And like, I know how you talk about things and how you're into things. And I feel like you're a level beyond me sometimes. And I love that. I love that about you. So going back to Wicked 2, part of me like wants you to bring a flip chart next time I come to your house and you can educate me like a little Wicked school. You can teach me all about it. Because there's something infectious, I think, about that enthusiasm and depth.
Yeah, well, those are some things that you said that you didn't get about it or something. So I think I said, oh, what? I'll tell you. And then I think you struggled to remember.
Yeah, and I was frustrated with myself for that. I was like, I think I said, oh, I should have written them down. Because when I
Yeah.
was sat in the cinema, I was like, why have they done that? Like, what have they done that for? But yeah, I can't. And this is definitely something for me. Even if I love a film, usually I can't tell you what's happened in it unless I've watched it 3 times. Same with a book. I've just finished my book for book club, which is next week. And already I'm like, I need to make some notes because I'm not going to remember what happened in this book that I absolutely loved. Think it's one of the best books that I've ever read. But I'm going to get to book club and be like, oh yeah, how did it end again?
I
Yeah.
can be like that, particularly, yeah. I can remember quite a bit, but it's soon lost, which I find tricky with fantasy books that are huge. And then the next one comes out and you're like, what on earth happened in the last one?
Right. Yeah. And I think also what I find this a lot with my book club, is the way that I love a book almost doesn't have any words to it. So when I'm trying to explain to people, like, what is it that I love about it? I almost can't put any words to it because it's a feeling. It's like something nameless. It feels like it loses something almost in putting words to it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it definitely makes sense. It feel like it can lose something, or even when you try, the person can never hear it the way you want them to hear it because they haven't read the book.
Yeah.
So you can't recreate in them the feeling that you had when you read a certain
Yeah.
chapter or when something unfolded. So when you're just giving a description
Yeah. Yeah.
without the magic.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I'm so fascinated, and I almost want to go away now and read more about this idea of rejection sensitivity around mismatches in interest. Again, I'm just thinking about my book club, and sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, this person I think they'll really like this," and then they're like, "Oh yeah, 3 stars." I'm like, "Yeah, that same feeling again of like, how can you say that?"
Definitely. Or do you know what? Sorry, something else has just come to mind. You know, if you go on a trip with a friend or something, and then I don't know, there's a certain activity or something on or a thing that you want to do, and you light up at the idea of doing it, and then you say to that person, oh, shall we do this? And they go, oh, actually, I'm not really bothered about doing that. I think again, it's
Mm.
that like, I almost describe it as like a twisting feeling. Oh,
Yeah.
I've been sucker punched, where rather than it just feeling like, oh, okay, like that's fine, it's a rejection of me almost.
Yeah, yeah. That's making me think about autistic joy, like
Sure.
the that kind of full body, kind of childlike. I don't mean childish, but childlike,
Yeah.
free, joyful, whimsy and frolicking feeling, right? To not have that matched feels like a deflated balloon feeling of like,
That's a better
here's
description. Yeah.
yeah, here's this like yeah, this great feeling like wow, this is the most alive I've felt in ages. And then yeah, pop.
I
Yeah.
think that's because passions are more than, I don't think passions and hobbies are necessarily the same thing.
Mm.
Many people have hobbies,
Hmm.
but I think there's a difference between being really passionate about a hobby.
Yeah.
And I think when you have strong interests, those interests inherently make up part of your identity,
Yeah.
which is why I think it feels like rejection of self. You reject my interest, you're rejecting me
Yeah.
because it's more than just a hobby. It's not a
Yeah.
thing that you just like and enjoy to do. And if it's not someone's thing, that's fine. There's loads of things that I enjoy. And if someone else doesn't want to do it, I'm not going to
Yeah.
have a big emotion about it. But when
Right.
it's something that feels like I like it so much that it's a part of my identity, I think that's then where it feels you're rejecting me then, because that is me almost.
Yeah. That feels really uncomfortable, both the resonating and being able to remember in my body times where I felt like that. And also, it feels like other people having a lot of power. I don't know if that's quite the right way to say it. It feels like a vulnerable thing as well. And almost like
Yeah.
I want to take that back from people to like not, it feels tricky to put into words. It feels like a thought that I can't quite form fast enough because it's not like I'm saying I don't want to be impacted by people. There's just something that really uncomfortable about people's ability to do that. I guess what I'm saying is I want to feel solid enough in myself to not have that. And I'm wondering, is it possible to get to that place where somebody can be disinterested in something that you really love, that it doesn't impact you in that same, twisting way, like you said? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because before you went to say they have a power,
Yeah.
and they kind of do, but I guess in a way we're handing them that power, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I know any other way to be in the world. If I am no longer affected by someone who is not interested in something that I feel is identity based,
Yeah.
can I be that interested in it?
Mm.
I don't know.
It
Maybe.
feels,
And maybe there is a way. I'm just, thinking out loud here. But it's hard for me to imagine not being affected by that.
I think it depends on who the person is. So
Mhm.
if I'm not so bothered about having a close relationship with this person, I'm probably going to be less bothered about their opinion of it.
Yes. Yeah.
What I was also thinking about is like, is it possible to like fill up the tank of sharing that interest with someone else enough that you can let go of it with other people? I don't know if
Uh,
it is. I'm not sure. I think
no,
my
that's a
sense,
good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
my sense is that, so even if I had someone that really shared something with me, if I met someone new and I was like, oh yeah, I really love this, and they were, and I wanted to be like friends with them, and they were like, but then maybe that's just compatibility. Maybe that's just realizing like, oh, maybe they're not going to be the friend that I hope they were.
Well, yeah, because I think when we're forming friendships, we bond over shared interests and things that we can share with somebody else. Relationships are about sharing experiences in the world with other people and not just by ourselves. So to share in meaningful experiences and create memories with other people involves doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So we want to cultivate relationships with people who do share our
Yeah.
interests. Not that they have to share every single interest, and not that they have to share the interest to the same craziness that you share the interest.
Yeah.
But perhaps there is something in what you said about if more of that need was met,
Hmm.
would it be less crushing
Yeah.
if someone else can't match your enthusiasm, for example, for that thing?
Yeah. And that makes me think about how do the things that we're passionate about touch on our already sore points? Like when I think about the things that I really relate to, that I'm really interested in, it's probably because they touch something that's really emotionally meaningful for me.
Yeah.
So when somebody is disinterested in it, perhaps there's a bit of subconscious confusion around the show, where like, where's the line between the show, the film, the book, whatever, and this part of me that's had this experience that feels these ways about it.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I think there's a lot to be said for that because there will be things that we're interested in that connect to parts of us and past experiences, particularly if we're less talking about hobbies, things that you go and do, versus causes that we're passionate about, for example, and know loads about, or things we research to the nth degree, that there may well be a reason that we have found ourselves very much into that thing. So I think that makes a lot of sense. It's also making me think about where maybe it's less about connecting with past experiences or parts of us, but not everyone experiences things at the same level
Yeah.
either. So for me, I think it's also about wanting to connect with people through depth. So I said to someone recently, listen to this violin solo at the end of the song. And they listened to it and they're like, oh, yeah, that's nice. I think I played the song. And then I said, but when the violin solo comes on, like, just listen to it. It came on and yeah, they said, yes, they said that it was nice. And I was so intrigued by their experience that I was just asking questions around it. And it just surprises me how different we experience things, because when that instrumental violin solo comes on in this particular song, if anyone's now interested, it's called Carry You by Ruel. I wish I could just play it right now. There's just this violin section. When I listen to it, it's like my body is just floating. I don't know how to explain it, but it causes like zinginess and warmth, and like light is zinging around in my body, and I'm weightless, and it just creates such a powerful feeling within me. And there will be people listening to this that, like, I experience some things like that.
Mm.
But for many people, they don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes the passions and the way you feel about something relates to that as well. You want to share in that experience that you have when you are engaging in that thing.
Yeah.
And it feels quite disappointing and lonely even when someone just doesn't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That loneliness is really part of it, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. I really want to listen to it now. You're going to have to send me the link so I can listen to it straight after. But again, yeah, I can really relate to that. And it made me think about poetry as well. So I really love poetry, which is another thing that I feel like I don't really have anybody that I can share this with. But it's one of those things for me that's like, it just cuts through all the noise of life and just says this like deep and truthful thing. And sometimes in such like creative or beautiful ways or just blunt ways or
Just for the record, I love poetry. You can always send me poetry.
great. Great. I almost feel like I want to pause the episode and go away and do a PhD on passions and like all the different tendrils is the word that's coming into my mind. Tendrils are things that they connect to that make this such an intense experience for people. And also, I think people don't talk about this enough. There's loads of social media stuff on mental health and therapy and all the rest of it, but I don't really hear people talking about the loneliness of people not sharing your interests and or the joy of it as well, the joy of having passions and being able to share that with people. It feels like something really important. Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling weirdly emotional
Are
as we're,
you?
as we're talking about this. Yeah, I'm just
I
thinking
kind of know
about
what you mean. Yeah.
like where my mind's going to is, and this feels like a total offshoot, but where my mind is going to is about how capitalism plays into all of this. And yeah, just about like how people do and don't have time for their interests and like the money that's pumped into things that it's cool to be interested in. And like, oh, what if there was as much money or as much kind of going into other things? Or yeah, I don't know. It feels a bit half formed. but
Yeah.
but yeah, it just feels, I think it feels like there's really something here about connection, belonging. And I didn't expect that when we started this episode to really be sat with a sense of what does it mean to be connected and what does it mean to belong and how do our passions play into that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just acceptance within all of that as well. When someone else enjoys your enthusiasm
Mm.
for it,
Mm.
rather than being made to feel odd or
Yeah.
too much or too intense
Mhm.
for how enthusiastic you are about something, and
Mm.
where people might have dismissive comments made or even little jokes
Yeah.
about how much something is said. I guess I'm aware that there could be lots of scenarios where people may have been shamed for how into a thing
Yeah.
maybe they have been.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because Brené Brown's research actually shows that joy is one of the most vulnerable emotions.
Yeah.
And I don't really think we think of joy as easy, I think.
Yeah.
That's an easy
Yeah.
emotion. But I think this episode really points out actually why joy can be a vulnerable
Yeah. Yeah.
emotion and why it can feel like there's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
To reach out for connection, to share in that joy with someone,
Yeah.
if you then get a wall or
Yeah.
dismissiveness or a comment about it not being, it's not cool to be that emotional, about something.
Yeah, I guess it's really revealing, isn't it? Just sharing what you're interested in. And it also makes me think about so, one of the questions that I ask in my intake when I take on a new client is, what do you do for fun? It's generally the question that I save for last, but it's such a revealing question. And it's so interesting the different ways that people respond to it. Like, some people can answer it really easily and straightforwardly. But actually, for a lot of people, they find it really hard to answer, either because because they've been shamed for the things that they've been interested in and they don't really want to share those things. Or for other people that actually for other people that they've completely lost connection to anything really that brings them joy or anything that they feel
Mm.
passionate about. And I think that can bring up a lot of shame as well.
Yeah. In my experience, people also find that question difficult to answer. Yeah, for lots of different reasons. I mean, as you were talking, something flashed into my mind, which doesn't really link from what you were saying there, but it just kind of popped up as to how acceptable, yeah, air quotes, acceptable interests also change over time. So one minute it's like a not an acceptable thing to be interested in, and then suddenly that thing becomes cool. An example
Right.
of which is like D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, was
Right.
always like the thing that, don't tell people you play Dungeons and Dragons on the
Yeah.
weekend. But now because of Stranger Things, people are like actively looking to join D&D clubs and stuff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So as a teenager, I was really into science and stuff like that. I was dead into space pretty much, and I'd watch loads of documentaries all related to astrophysics and things like that, none of which was cool. And then the Big Bang Theory came out.
Right.
And what I loved so much about the Big Bang Theory is they were talking about concepts that I understood. And I was like, I get this show is hilarious because I was really understanding a lot of the concepts that then when other people around me got into the show, they weren't laughing at the parts I was laughing at because they didn't get that
Right.
bit,
Yeah.
which I used to view as really like geeky and that I wouldn't really talk about with anyone else. That then became cool.
Yeah.
And it was cool to be able to explain that joke.
Yes.
And suddenly being geeky became cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just thinking about the impact of that when at one point something that you have felt needs to be a bit hidden and not really shout about suddenly becomes a thing now everyone's redefined as cool and everybody's doing.
Yeah, yeah. And I can imagine there being different responses to that as well. Like, on the one hand, relief that it doesn't need to be hidden anymore. But on the other hand, a kind of like, I was into this before it was cool. And now
Yeah.
I feel like I've almost lost a different part of my identity because it's suddenly cool and everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Well, we've spoken quite a bit about what it's like to have these passions, or I don't even know if I like to say intense interests. It reminds me of how in the autistic community they're called like special interests,
Hmm.
which is another term that I take issue with. For those who aren't aware, it relates a lot to this episode, but many autistic people have very deep interests that they're passionate about and spend a lot of time doing and need to spend a lot of time doing for their overall mental well-being. But yeah, those interests are often categorized as special interests. So then this idea of intense interests. What am I trying to say?
I think what's coming to mind for me is maybe when people who are not autistic talk about that it's done in a dismissive way or in like a
Tantalizing way.
infantile. Yeah, there's something immature about it, or yeah, that it's like quirky, weird is another word that's coming to mind, and I don't think it needs to. I feel like I'm trying not to stand. I feel like parts of me are like jumping on the soapbox of like, it's capitalism again, stealing all our joy. Like, can't we just enjoy things? Can't we just go deep into things. It's fine. Um,
Yeah. Well, that was actually a point that I jotted down, and I forgot to mention it earlier when you mentioned capitalism. And I feel like most of our episodes will just come back to capitalism anyway. So, but because society values productivity driven interests rather than just doing it for enjoyment,
yeah.
and you find that all the time, even when you get really good at something, people's first response is like, oh, you should sell those. Oh,
Yeah.
you could sell that. Oh, why don't you do that for
Yeah.
money? It's like, I love to sing and I have had singing lessons for years. This is something that I spoke about in our last episode. But time and time again, yes, I do struggle with performance anxiety. However, I'm told many, many times that I should be using it, that it's a waste to not be using it. And don't get me wrong, that's coming from a nice place. People are saying, oh, you should share your voice with the world.
Yeah.
But it's still this idea that if you're good at something, you can't just enjoy it for enjoyment's sake. You now need to show it to the world. You now need to use it to make money rather than
Yeah.
you're doing it just because you enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think that taps into something that I imagine other listeners will relate to as well, which is feeling like you have to be good at things.
Oh,
So
yeah.
just for the last few weeks, I've been painting a bit. And I'm not a good painter, but I'm always just like letting go of that and just seeing what happens and just really enjoying that. And I'm not going to share it on social media and I'm not going to make it into another business. Like it's just an outlet,
Mhm.
like a much needed outlet. Yeah, I think that could take the joy out of it sometimes, the pressure to be good at it or to improve at it.
Yeah. Whereas you could enjoy something for a really long time and not have to get good at it.
Right. Yeah.
Chances are you probably improve somewhat, but
Yes.
but it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be the aim or the goal.
Yeah. It's almost like the positive and negative of social media. And I don't think it's just social media. I think this is probably a thing before social media was a thing. But I suppose what I'm thinking about is it's a lot easier to find your group of people who think you are cool with social media, where you can go on Facebook and find a group or Reddit or wherever else and find your people. So
Hmm.
there's a real upside to that. Whereas I imagine before that, if you're the only person in your town that's interested in D&D, where else are you going to find people? So yeah, there's the positive of that. But then the downside of it is that so much is monetized, like you say, and it can't just be for the joy of enjoying something. Like it's got to be something else.
Yeah, there's that quote as well that's it's something like if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And yet so many people who turn their passion into their full-time job say it kills their passion
Right.
because
Yeah.
work is still work.
Yeah, I say this to people often who talk about their dream job because
Mm,
being a therapist is my dream job. It has been my dream job since I was 15 years old. It's all I've ever wanted to do. And I love to do it. And when I think about what are my passions, like really my passions, my main passion is understanding people. It's still work.
yeah,
It is
that's
still
it.
work.
It's
And
still work. Yeah.
yeah, and monetizing it does bring another layer to it. I definitely found this shift. So when you do your training, you have to do so many hours of working in placement, which is generally not paid. So the shift from doing something that I loved and doing it for free and then doing it and charging money for it does bring another layer to it, complications to it. I wish I could do it for free. I would love to do
Yes.
it for free. Yeah.
Yeah, because it does, it changes your relationship with
Yeah.
it and brings in a lot of extra stuff to think about, which sometimes can sap the joy, or you can enjoy it but still get burnt out by it. And at the end of the day, it still very much feels like work, even when you love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have this with my children as well. So when I'm thinking about that, what they might do with their future, like there is that part of me, I guess part of me that recognizes that we do live in a capitalist society and I want them to be comfortable. But yeah, sometimes I will say to them, like, oh, you could do that when you're older. And actually, I do get quite a bit of pushback from it of like, I just want to enjoy it.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
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 Oh, how can we, and for anyone listening who relates, How can we let ourselves be enthusiastic and stop trying to manage how excited we look, how much we want to talk about a certain thing? Yeah, so much of this episode has been about how amazing and positive and nice this thing is. So, actually, how can we embrace that?
Yeah, I think it's easier to do for yourself. And maybe that's the starting layer to allow yourself to be comfortable with it before you start moving into sharing it with other people.
Mhm.
It's just allowing yourself to really geek out over things that actually that's okay, that it brings you joy and that can't be a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's a good starting point. And then sometimes maybe learning or having a sense of how you might respond to comments people make. I'm thinking about when I bought myself Lego is so expensive, but I'm thinking about when I bought the freaking huge Harry Potter castle and an offhand comment, but just made by a family member of something about, is it childish to have Lego as an adult? Which it's absolutely not. And there's so many things that are just directly marketed towards adults.
Yeah.
So that didn't even like sting or bother me because I don't believe that to be true anyway. So that helped. But it's how might you want to respond when you have certain comments in a way that don't then knock you? And I think it can be helpful, yeah, to know that so that you can still talk about it and not feel like, oh, I can't talk about this with this person then.
When I think about sharing it with other people, I come back again to knowing who is safe to share with and who isn't safe to share with.
Yeah.
And you're not always going to know. There are going to be mismatches. So then there's something about what needs to happen internally if there is an uncomfortable situation for you. Like, how do you support yourself to feel okay again? But you don't have to share it with anybody that you know is going to be unkind or dismissive.
Yes. Yeah, no, you definitely don't. And I think there will be people in your life who will just not feel like safe enough people to share that thing with.
Yeah.
And then situations like me where I think there's a defiant part of me where the person in my family who said that, I just kept sending them updates of the build. And look at
Yeah.
this bit and look at what this bit does. And yeah, whether they really cared or not, they did feign interest. Or maybe it was genuine interest. Who knows? Maybe I changed their mind. I did that more as a rebellious part of me because it felt okay to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels like it connects with what you were saying before about how interests change over time, because it feels really obvious to me that Lego is marketed at specifically at adult. They have adult ranges that are for adults these days. But I only know that because of my children.
Mm.
I suppose I can imagine somebody being unaware and not realizing that adults Lego is a thing.
Yeah, which is why that didn't sting or bother me, and why I was very
Mm.
happy to just still be like, look what I'm doing with my Lego.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I do think it's important that, yes, you don't have to share it with anybody, particularly people who are going to make you feel bad for liking that thing.
yeah,
And also not feeling like it's something that you have to hide away from
yeah.
people.
Hmm.
So for people owning what they're interested in and knowing that it is okay, more than okay, to be
Yeah,
interested in that thing. And yeah,
yeah,
I want to tell the world that you're interested in that thing.
yeah. And I get, and so part of what I'm sat with at the moment is the flip of that. And I think there is that with Harry Potter at the moment.
Mm,
Like, actually, it was fine to be really into it. And now there's this, with J.K. Rowling being how she's being, that actually it's not as straightforward anymore. And how do you navigate that? I've seen a lot of people that really, I've never been into Harry Potter. I've never watched a whole film. I've never read a book. But I know lots of people really struggle with actually how are they managing their relationship with Harry Potter with the
yeah.
backdrop of what J.K. Rowling's doing. That feels really hard as well. And I'm sat with this discomfort of, yeah, how do we this joy and this is what you love, and also what do you do when that kind of changes?
Yeah, well, whether it's Harry Potter and the how uncomfortable now it makes people who have had a long-standing relationship with it. So how do I feel about it
Yeah,
now because of her? But also about, any film that was produced by Harvey Weinstein or
right.
there are so many different It's just making me, sorry, a list of people have now just flooded
Right.
into my mind, like
Yeah.
different music and musicians and things like
Yeah.
that. And I don't always think it's as straightforward as separate art from artists. I think it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess there is the side of things where there can be additional complexities maybe to the things that we're really interested in,
Mm.
which might make it more difficult to shout from the
Yeah.
rooftops about.
Right.
But
Yeah.
on the whole, shout
Yeah.
about your interest from the rooftop.
Right. Yeah. But it is, I feel like it just, again, goes back to how complicated these things are. Like when we started this episode, I was like, oh, hobbies and interests. This will be a nice, light episode. But actually, it does. It taps into some really vulnerable stuff about who we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Every now and again want to insert lighter topics, don't we? But I don't know that you and I really know how to do things in a in a light way. Not sure that's possible.
That was on the first episode. Yeah. It's not really a podcast for small talk, is it? Surface level and small talk. If you're looking for that, you stumbled onto the wrong show.
Yeah. And if you're still here, thank you.
Yeah.
If you've ever toned yourself down, acted less excited, less obsessed, less animated, just to seem normal,
Maybe normal is overrated.
loving things deeply is not a flaw, it's a sign you are alive.
Next time, we're diving into too empathetic to function, emotional contagion, compassion fatigue, and what happens when caring deeply starts to cost you.
But for now, we'll leave you with this.
What's something you love that you've been pretending not to care that much about?
And what would it feel like to let yourself enjoy it fully? No coolness required.
That's all from us today. If this episode made you feel a bit less alone, the best way to help us reach more people is to subscribe, rate the podcast, and follow Too Much Apparently on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Those simple clicks help other sensitive humans find us when they need it most. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon.